Twilight Princess HD is a 10-year-old game that's been given a facelift, which is to say it wraps sharp new textures around its polygons. Everything else is old. The audio is synthesized, doing things like climbing ladders can be a bit of a fuss, and the gameplay overall lacks the convenience of modern action RPGs. But overall, there's actually something quaint and wonderful about the old-fashioned way that Twilight Princess plays. In the 10 years since it was first released on the GameCube and Wii, most adventure games have become sort of obsessed with being as slick and streamlined as possible. Games have become absolutely terrified that you'll get lost. So you have all these gimmicks to keep you on track, things like the mission checklist on your Pip-Boy in Fallout 4, or the sat-nav system that guides you through The Witcher 3. Twilight Princess doesn't have any of that. It's old school insofar as it leaves you to your own devices, hands unheld. Sometimes it straight up doesn't tell you where to go next. It forces you to explore, to investigate, ask around, play curious. What a rare joy it is to be lost in Hyrule, searching across its fields and mountains and towns and rivers in pursuit of something. How old this approaches, but how new it feels. There's a serendipitous bliss to the detours you make throughout your main quest. You'll stumble into dark alleyways, secret catacombs, niche boutiques, a village straight out of a spaghetti western, and a magnificent stone bridge about a quarter mile across. Not since Ocarina of Time has a Zelda game offered a world of this scale and activity with so much confidence. And it's the residents of this world who make every journey seem worthwhile. Twilight Princess sees nearly every character as an opportunity to inject more personality and charisma into its world. The Gorons are aggressive and territorial locals of Death Mountain. The cannon operator is a downtrodden clown with bulbous, pitiful eyes. The Yeti up in the wintry north has an adorably gigantic bum and speaks in all caps. The Hyrulean town beggar promises good fortune if you keep giving him rupees. And just as a word of warning, I've spent about $700 on the guy so far and I haven't got anything back. Then there's Zant, the magnificent, mad sidekick of Ganondorf, who plays as chief antagonist for the majority of the story. I just couldn't take my eyes off him. Zant is unbelievably sinister and weird in an enigmatic sort of way, and that couldn't be more appropriate for Twilight Princess. This game is dark, it's brutal, it's creepy. It features an alternate version of Hyrule that is engulfed in shadow. It's wonderfully bleak. The lighting is the mucky yellow of a cigarette stain, while squares of ash whiz through the air as though Nintendo had made a snow globe from an ashtray. As Link enters this Twilight realm for the first time, he transforms into Wolf Link. Later he can freely switch between beast and human, and this is clearly Twilight Princess's big spin on the old Zelda formula. It's no disaster, but it doesn't quite work as well as it needed to. Wolf Link's main attack is a straightforward lunge, or alternatively a charged spin, which gives battles a pedestrian pace and a narrow scope of strategy. Okami, this is not. Fortunately, you can play as human Link for most of the 40-hour adventure, and each of the game's 9 dungeons will test Link's arsenal of moves and weapons to their very limits. The dungeons, it has to be said, are simply outstanding. What amazes me so much about them is how even the most elaborate challenges, the kind that test your memory and lateral thinking, are built around a simple question. How do I spin that fan? How do I smash that ice? How do I reach that platform? In search of the answer, you will flood rooms of water, walk upside down across cave ceilings lined with quartz, fashion a giant swing from a sextet of placated baboons, and carry a cannonball across the icy halls of a mountain peak mansion. This is quintessential Nintendo, intricate answers beautifully folded into a straightforward question. Unfortunately, the dungeons and the game as a whole is just far too easy. Don't be too amazed if you never die once throughout your entire quest. There's a new hero mode which makes things much trickier, but not really in a satisfying way. It's not as though the AI has improved, you just take more damage. Twilight Princess HD is unmistakably a product of its time. When it was released in 2006, it wasn't just one thing, it was many things. It was a love letter to hardcore Zelda fans, made during anxious times for Nintendo. It was developed for 2 consoles simultaneously. It was the GameCube's last hurrah, and it was a Wii launch title. It was a defining test for motion controls, which, by the way, have been stripped out. So because it was all these things and more, Twilight Princess has always had a sort of warped identity. Perhaps now, 10 years later, it can finally be remembered how it ought to be, as a dark and brilliant showpiece of a treasured series.